For all the attention we get, we might as well be in Tasmania. If this goes on for much longer, I think I shall waste away like a dried up piece of seaweed. My dear Ernest, I have to tell you, I am terrified of the Ipswich cod. I know you will say it's all my fault that I am in this mess, but I feel small and licked by a bubble. And if it all goes wrong, it will all be for nothing. If you only knew how much I wish I had never set off down this route. I suppose, to begin with, it was all a little game. I've never felt very beautiful, you see, and I suppose I found the intention flattering. And perhaps I wanted to see how far I could take it. I never meant to lose you. I thought we could all exist together. But that could never happen. I see that now. I hurt you, and I am sorry. David is obsessed by me, but I find it stifling. How can one woman be an empire to one man? I feel with this relationship.
That it is a mess, and an awakening emptiness. Wherever you are, you can be sure that never a day goes by without some hour's thought of you. Wasn't life lovely? Sweet and simple. I can't believe that such a thing could have happened to two people who got along so well. At least it never should have been like it is now, and I'm sorry to have dragged Mary into it. She was a good friend, but now I know she will probably never speak to me again. Being named in a divorce settlement as the other woman is not nice. I know it, but what else could I do? And now I think I've pushed you and she together. I know I will regret that in years to come. You wrote last of your feelings towards her. I don't blame you, you know.
I often think of when we first met. Oh, 1927. I was going through a divorce then too. Oh, how I wish I realized what I had been when I met you and you married me and brought me to England. I've always been an unsatisfied person, I think. But now I have learnt my lesson too late.
Then why let it happen?
What?
Well, what are you saying? If you're that unhappy, why go through with it?
But you're just a cook. What do you know about anything?
Well, sorry for breathing.
Well, I'm sorry too. It's just that I feel stifled in this little town. It's like a prison.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Does anything ever happen here?
You mean, apart from the king arriving in his little red plane? I would have thought that was excitement enough for anybody.
When I walk into town, nobody recognizes me.
I thought that's what you wanted.
I want gaiety. I want laughter. I want society balls. I want champagne, caviar. I don't want a poky house in a nowhere town, on the edge of a windy coast.
Peach House isn't that pokey. It's got 6 bedrooms for a start.
It's tiny. There's bare room for my maid.
Well, think of the prestige you'll have soon. Wife of the King of England. More parties and palaces than you can shake a stick at.
That will never be happen. I shall never be queen. The English hate me. Did you know that? They call me the Yankee harlot, and I receive threatening letters.
The king will put a stop to all that, you'll see. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a love like that. You get a kingdom, I'd be lucky to get a pint of stout and a ship and anchor.
But I can't live up to it. He wants all of me, you see, and I'm afraid if he doesn't get what he wants, he'll abdicate.
Oh, a man who'd give up his kingdom for love. My old man won't give up the sofa.
But it's not what I want. We'll have to live in exile, and I'll be stuck with him 24/7.
I see what you mean.
You don't know what it's like. My mother struggled to bring us up. My father died when I was 5 months old. We had to rely upon handouts
you know. My head was almost turned by Fred the Butcher and a bowl of tripe.
Do you know I was christened Bessie?
Not about, have you?
Too many cows are called Bessie.
Anyway, you should be used to this.
What?
Waiting for divorce.
My fault that I seem to choose the wrong men.
Yeah, a lot of us have said that, dear. But you soon work out it's not worth changing them. They're all the same.
You may be onto something there, but I never meant to get this far.
Yeah, a lot of us have said that too.
No, it's true. My first husband was a drunken fool, an earnest. He was so kind. If a little dull, I just needed a bit of excitement in my life.
But where did it lead? Felixstowe out of season.
I blame Thelma Lady Furness. She introduced us. She was David's mistress and knew how to handle him. She asked me to take care of him while she was away.
And you did a bit too good a job of it.
I never expected him to fall for me so heavily. And then, of course, he became king.
An added complication.
Exactly. I never expected Baldwin to fall for me so heavily, so...
And now you're stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea, literally.
Exactly. I think I shall escape to France once the dust is settled. Tell him I'm on a hat hunting expedition.
Shopping trip, falls of every time.
Anyway, what did you want?
Oh, to ask what you wanted for dinner tonight, ma'am, and if we were going to have any unexpected guests.
No. I should dine alone this evening, and so just a little of that cold lamb from yesterday. That'll do. I haven't much of an appetite.
How long?
The residential qualification for divorce is 6 weeks.
Oh, only another 5 to go then. I think I'll go and find some milk for that lamb. Will you be long with your letters now?
No, just a few more minutes more. I just want to finish writing this letter.
As you wish.
My dear Ernest, if only I could explain to you, if only we could go back to the very beginning.
A flame in your heart.
We don't go places. I think it more dignified to be quiet. One hopes to keep one's names from the papers, but even doing nothing is no protection from their intention. I understand I am all over the American press. Aunt Bessie is kind enough to send me all the cuttings. No doubt the British press will follow suit once word gets out. Sometimes I think I shall stand on the rooftops and shout, "I'm here! Come and get me!" just to relieve the boredom of this dull, windy, out-of-the-way nowhere that is Felixstowe. Their only claim to fame, it seems,
Was a visit by the German Empress and the Crown Prince in 1891. They lodged at a house just along from Beach House to South Beach Mansions. But I have been to see it, and how they all got in remains a mystery, as they never went anywhere without a huge entourage. I sympathise. Apparently, the children loved the beach donkeys and made firm friends with the proprietor and Mr. Rattle. I hope the weather was more clement for them than it has been for me. 4 weeks to go.
4 weeks before the court's end. What has been, what I will always think of, is the best few years of my life. In spite of how the marriage ended, I do hope Ernest has not been a complete waste of time for you. My only wish, my continuing regret, is never having known the joy of children of our own, of my own. I often wonder if it would have made any difference to my waywardness. You see, it often seems to be the case that when I am good, I have a bad time. And when I am bad, the opposite is true. Can you ever forgive me?
I spend my days wandering the seafront, where if you don't wrap up, you would die of pneumonia. The wind here cuts right through you to the bone. Or I hide away at the Felix Hotel, a grand pile of place that stands on the cliff and overlooks the grey and brooding North Sea. I have a room put aside for me, and everyone is sworn to secrecy. It's a bit like living in a play or a film, undercover, like a secret agent. It's only not so interesting as they get to spend time in exotic locations, and I only get to spend time here. Have you ever been to the east coast of England? If not, don't bother. If there's enough recommended, I hate this place. I shall hate it to my grave.
What went wrong? When did it all become so difficult? As I said in my last letter, I wish we could go back to the beginning. Good, dependable Ernest. You made me feel safe. Did you know that? And I don't think I am disparaging you by saying that. To be safe, to feel safe, I think is perhaps the most important thing in the world. I come from good stock, but my parents were just children when they ran away to have me. Their love story had no happy ending. Love doesn't always conquer all. You have to have a good income too. Their experiences taught me that. Oh, it was bad of me to take you away from Dorothea. I know that now, especially when she was so ill. But you have to understand, Ernest, I had such a bad time with my first marriage. Wynne was such a pig, and then you came along, and you were so different.
You mean I was boring?
No, not boring. Safe.
Safe was never what you wanted, Wallace, my dear. When you were married to a dashing fighter.
Earl Wingfield Spencer. He was an instructor at flying school.
But travelled to exotic locations.
We lived in Navy accommodation in Boston.
Had an exciting lifestyle.
I got so desperate I took up poker.
Oh, my poor Wallace.
It wasn't easy being a wife of a serving officer. Brief sojourns in rented bungalows, endless associations with the same people conditioned in the same interests. And Wynne, he was always so angry.
At you?
Not just me, although I don't think I helped. He wanted a stay-at-home life. I'm naturally gay and flirtatious. I love parties. And I also wanted to win. He was always so angry. And I never realized what drink could do to a man. Poor Wynne, stuck in Boston teaching rookies to fly, with a wife who only cared to party. No wonder he was angry.
I'm sure you did your best.
We married too young. Well, I was too young. I had only known poverty, with my father dying when I was just a child. My mother and I forced to live in with relatives and rely upon Uncle Sol for our daily bread. It was humiliating. As soon as I was old enough, I knew I could never live like that again. My motto became, you can never be too rich or too thin.
And Wynne was everything I was not.
Yes, you're a drinker, a womanizer, and a man with a temper.
You never said...
My first marriage was a harrowing experience, running a barrage of subtle innuendos and veiled insults. Outsiders weren't supposed to understand those clever thrusts, but I certainly did. He locked me in the bathroom once. Did you know that? All day and night. That's when I decided, oh, God, I can't concentrate anymore. I've had so much trouble and complications with everything that I am terrified of the court. I just can't think straight. I'll write again tomorrow. and there is a quiet room tucked away so I can write to you. They do half decent coffee with scones and cream and jam, and there is music. This afternoon they play our song. Well, I will always think of it as our song. I danced with a man who danced with a girl who danced with the Prince of Wales. I remember hearing that song on the boat to England the first time. Everybody wanted to be that girl. They still want to be. And in spite of all the interesting and entertaining people he has known, he still wants me. I find it stifling. I don't mind admitting I feel small and licked by it all. I can't begin to think the mess that I'm leaving. I feel sorry for myself. I feel sorry for the king. I hate stuffy British minds. And last but not least, I don't understand myself, which is the cause of all the misery. 3 weeks to go.
Still 3 weeks in this little backwater among people who have no idea that history has been going on right under their noses. I have, however, found out some enlightening information while at Felix Hotel. Apparently, before the First World War, there were a lot of Germans working there. And on outbreak of hostilities, a number were accused of spying and arrested. And guess who was at the bottom of that little scandal? None other than David's squeaky clean sister-in-law, Elizabeth Bowes Lyons herself. Really? The things one finds out when gossiping with servants. Apparently she and her sister Rose were staying in Felixstowe at the time. I suppose being brought up in Scotland, Felixstowe would have seemed like the south of France to the Earl of Strathclyde. I'm not sure in which house, but it was next to a dentist's surgery.
And one evening, whilst relaxing in the garden, they overheard 2 men talking in strong accents, which convinced them they were spies. The appropriate authorities were contacted immediately, and the men were arrested. No further information was forthcoming. But an intriguing story, don't you think?
Mrs. Simpson! Man, I've been looking everywhere for you.
Good heavens. Come on, I'll get a moment's peace. I thought I left dinner instructions.
There was a telephone call, ma'am. I was told to fetch you. I was told it was urgent.
It will only be David.
What, His Majesty?
Edward P. David the King, it's all the same. He wants what he always wants, for me to be here to listen to him.
I was told to fetch you, ma'am. I was told he would call back in an hour.
But what if I'm not here? He'll call back in another hour, no doubt.
Well, I must say, there's me practically having a heart attack coming to find you. A message from His Majesty himself. Some people don't know they're born.
You don't know the half of it. When I was in London, he'd phone me 2 or 3 times a day. And if I wasn't available, oh, the tears he would get into. It's so restrictive. It's as if I can't have a life apart from him. Do you know, I would be happy to swap places with you.
Then you don't know much about my life, ma'am.
I wouldn't mind a little baking in the kitchen.
And getting up at 5 to clean the grates, and peeling endless sacks of potatoes, and walking into town for the market, and lining up outside the greengrocers and the fishmongers, not to mention Albert snoring. I sometimes think it would be easier to sleep beside the train tracks. At least I'd get some peace in between the locomotives.
An ordinary life.
But when you miss your fine clothes and bright jewels, I only had one necklace, handed down to me by my grandmother, and that went to Paul when Albert got sick.
Don't need all this jewellery. He's flatter you with gifts.
Depends what they're after.
I never wanted any of this, you know.
Huh. Easy to say that now, but you look like you've got expensive taste.
That was the problem. I couldn't slide back into poverty. Do you know how hard it is to be poor?
Well, I can't say I find it that easy myself. But I think even with a spruce up, I couldn't attract the eye of a wealthy socialite. Even Albert had to have a couple of stiff drinks before the wedding night. But I'm sure you have men fallen over themselves for your hand now.
A lot of boys, a lot of bones, but not many of husband material. Oh, you'd be surprised. But a girl's got to live, you know, and without independent means, one is rather reliant upon a decent husband.
Or working for a living.
I tried to find a job in between husbands, but honestly, what could I do? At school, I was only ever taught how to ride horses and be interesting to men. And Uncle Sol, well, I knew he never liked me very much, but I was expecting a substantial settlement from his will. But no, he leaves it all to a home for gentlewomen, just to spite me, just because he was unhappy with my divorce from Wynne. Oh, but it was all right for him. He didn't have to live with him. So, I couldn't go back to poverty, and I couldn't live off my ex-husband for the rest of my life. So I decided the best and wisest thing to do was to marry Ernest. I was fond of him, and he was kind. And I was tired of wandering the world and fighting it alone without any money.
And now you're getting divorced from him too. So what went wrong?
I often ask myself that. I thought we were happy.
But you probably were. But in my experience, the grass is always greener. No one's perfect. But it is better the devil you know. I often say that to myself when I'm taking Albert's boots off after he's drunk himself senseless.
If the king rings, tell him I'm not available to speak to him until tomorrow.
Are you sure now?
Now, leave me. I wish to finish writing this letter.
Right you are.
My dear Ernest, I've been a long time learning that wisdom and experience are things apart. A taste for life is not to be confused with knowing what life is all about. I've always had the courage for new things that life sometimes offers. I'm not a very beautiful woman. I'm nothing much to look at. So all I can do is dress better than anyone else.
I thought you were beautiful.
You lived a sheltered life.
I think you are still.
Ernest, how did I get so caught up with it all?
Is it too late?
Too late? I think maybe it is.
Be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. It's a sin to tell a lie.
My dear Ernest, how are you? I'm not sleeping so well myself. The windows are badly fitting in this poky little place. And being close to the sea, I hear the wind howling around the home like a banshee. I wake up at night sometimes and think I am laying on that strange chaise longue. And then I hear your footsteps coming down the passage of the flat. And there you are, with an Evening Standard under your arm. Oh, Ernest, how did this happen to two people who got along so well? I often think back to when we first met. You cannot understand how lonely and helpless I felt then. A marriage, even one that goes all awry, still generates pains and needs that persist like an afterglow, long after the emotional fire is burnt out. Waiting for my first divorce, I simply rusticated.
And when I wasn't rusticating, I vegetated with equal satisfaction. But after that, I had to move on. I sought the protection of Don Felipe Espiel, an ambassador with wide-ranging interests. I had high hopes that we might become a couple, and I liked him well enough. But as you know, he betrayed me for Courtney Louise Letts, that vain socialite. What did she have except beauty and money? Then there was Shanghai, the narrow layer of heaven on a thin slice of hair. I knew I wanted to marry again, but after a spell I was determined never to allow myself to drift into light affairs at the moment. I determined to wait until I was sure I had found a deep core to engage my mind and my emotions. You probably heard about Robbie.
Howard Robinson, the British ambassador. That was just a brief fling. Oh, you have to understand, Ernest, I never kept anything from you. The King and I kept a platonic relationship up till now. Please believe me, in spite of all the rumors and scandal mongering, I think men find me witty, and I have this special ability of giving them my full attention. That's my only art. I only ever wanted an ordinary marriage, and I found that with you.
I only wish that were true.
But it is true. I felt security without marriage, which I'd never experienced since childhood.
Then why? Wallace, I thought we were happy.
I think I amuse him. I'm his comedy relief. And we like to dance together.
Don't treat me as a fool. I know it's more than that.
I never meant it to get this far. I'm just a typical Southern belle who can no more keep from flirting than from breathing. And I never meant it to get this far. I thought he had Thelma and Frida, and I was just a little light relief. Perhaps I was the first to penetrate that heart of inner loneliness. But you know what they say, what goes around comes around. I don't understand myself. That's the cause of all the misery. I'm so lonely. Do you remember our wedding?
The register office in Chelsea. A gloomy little Victorian pile, all suited to a trial and the celebration of marriage. The ceremony cold little job over in a flash.
But the honeymoon was beautiful. Paris, Spain,
A little yellow touring Laguna.
with your chauffeur, Hughes, at the wheel.
You said I acted as a bit of a Baedeker, a guide, Michelin, an encyclopedia. Pompous, was I, Olga?
Not a bit. You were charming, all wrapped up in that retiring, modest manner.
I should never have forced you to live in England too wet, too grey.
It was my decision too.
But then, you wouldn't have met him.
I might have done. You've been to America too, you know.
But it would have been a fleeting liaison. You would have danced with him at a ball and come away with the happiest of memories, and in the morning he would have forgotten you.
If I didn't care, would I feel this way?
That's a lovely song. Dance with me, Ernest. Once more, for all time's sake.
If there's
Mr. Simpson! I was told to bring this over to you. I told it's urgent.
What is it?
It's a letter, ma'am.
From the king?
No, ma'am. From your husband, Mr. Simpson.
If I didn't care, more the words could say. If I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart stands still? If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And would I be sure that this is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
My dear Ernest, so, the deed is done, and now there is no hindrance to our divorce. The date is set, 27th of October. I know I should be grateful, but all I can think about is how I need you now to steady the ship and my nerves. I've had so much trouble and complications with everything.
I am terrified of court. I know they will have to bring it up. It's so hard to get divorced, it seems. And you were very honourable to agree to being the one caught having an affair. But it all seems so tawdry. A hotel room with a hired woman, not good for your image, I should imagine. Mind you, nor is being called in by the king. But it just sounds a little better, I suppose. I know Mary thinks I had all this planned, and her words, as she recounted them, cut me to the quick. She thought she could use me as a scapegoat, and she did. That Ernest He turned to me in his great unhappiness, and he did. Even though she loathed and despised having me there, it served her purpose. She could say Ernest was having an affair with me, and so she would get her divorce, and she did. Anyway, she has her revenge now.
You and she are an item, I understand. I don't blame you or her. I just never saw this as the end result. I never wanted this divorce. Yeah, I've said it. I just wanted a bit of life, gaiety. You know me. I can never settle for routine, and Edward P., well, I thought that's what he wanted too, a bit of fun. I never planned for him to fall for me so heavily. Or maybe I should have taken a little step back from all the engagements and invitations to the Ford. But you were always away on business. And I got bored, I must admit. I'm not the archetypal housewife. I need parties, I need excitement. Well, there was all these people, and there was chaperones, and of course there was Thelma. How did I know she would go off to the US and leave me as the only one to entertain him? And that cruise on the yacht Yaspara. Perhaps it was all those evenings off the Spanish coast that we crossed the line that marked the indefatigable boundary between friendship and love. I've always had the courage for new things that life sometimes offers. But I don't think I have for this. Don't get me wrong, I think he will make a great king of a new era, and I believe the country will the same. I'm not sure they will think it if I am beside him.
So do you love him?
Yes. No. Oh, I don't know. What is love after all?
You, of all people, Wallace, should be able to answer that.
You have no idea how hard it is, living out this great romance. The man is exhausting. He wants all of me, and I'm not sure I can give it.
Maybe you should have thought that one through before.
I thought he would have gone back to Thelma.
And perhaps you shouldn't have tried so hard to gain his full attention. Oh, I'm sorry. It was probably my fault. I was away far too long.
You had your business to run.
I took my eye off the ball, old girl. Unforgivable. Only had myself to blame.
And me for Mary.
You're not jealous.
Of course I was jealous. She was my best friend. And I handed her to you on a plate. And now I have lost the two most important people in the world to me.
But you have David. You have the king. What more could you possibly want?
I'm scared, Ernest, that he will grow tired of me eventually, and I'll be left high and dry with no one.
Oh, my poor Wallace.
I had hoped you'd be on your own, so I could come back to you when that happened.
He's obsessed. He won't tire of you.
He tired of Thelma and Frida.
Perhaps he thinks he's found the one.
He was with Frida for years, and now he won't even allow her calls to be put through.
Do you know what he said to me when I went to see him? He said, "Do you think I would ever be crowned without Wallace at my side?" That's when I knew it was all over. There was no point in fighting anymore.
Oh, Ernest, unraveling of a tangled skein of threads, too stubborn to be broken. Thinking that by May next year I'll be by his side when he is crowned. establishment will push for abdication and for his brother to take his place. The Duchess of York hates me for it. She sees me as a shrew that has put them all in the worst possible position. Oh, David thinks it will be all right in the end, but I don't think it will be. I think it will end in exile and bitterness. And I'm not sure I have the courage to face it all.
Excuse me, ma'am. Will you be wanting a meal tonight? Because I understand you're about to leave us.
Yes, we shall be leaving this evening, so just a little of that cold meat and maybe a trout.
A trout? I could do you kickers.
You don't know how glad I'll be to get back in civilization.
Nothing wrong with kickers, ma'am. A lot of battles are being fought on kickers. Edward II tied his fleet up here. He had the last supper at kickers, so I believe.
I've done my battling, and kippers won't be on the menu.
Right, well, I think there is a little of the lamb left.
That'll do.
I must say, ma'am, I'm sorry to see you go.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but if I ever find myself on this particular windy spot of the East Coast again, it will be too soon.
Nice of you to say so, ma'am. I must say, it's brought excitement into my life. Won't be the same as going back to Albert snoring on the settee.
I wish you joy of it.
And the King's visits, well, I'll be telling my grandchildren for years to come. You got children, ma'am?
Never had the honour.
Don't know whether honour's the right word. Our Bertie can be a right little monster when he likes to be. Called him after the King's brother, but he hasn't got a king's manners, if you get me drift. Often wonder where he gets it from, and then I see Albert snoring
Yes,
with...
well, if you don't mind, I just wish to finish writing this letter.
Right one, ma'am. I'll go and get the cold supper ready.
My dear Ernest, I shan't be able to see you after all, for which I am sorry. I've decided to go away sometime this week, but I cannot tell H.M. I am going, because I know what will happen. I shall simply tell him the old search for hat story. Well, what can I say as I stand here beside the grave of everything that was us? I hope you will have a happy life. And if I am put on a spot, Ipswich will have been a complete waste of time as far as I am concerned. Won't it? I shall stay safely away until after the coronation, or forever. One cannot tell. But please be rest assured, Ernest, all the things from the home should be returned to you. Only very dear, dear Ernest, I can only cry as I say farewell, and press your hand very tightly, and pray to God, give me courage.
The way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way you smile just please. The way you sing off key. The way you can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on this bumpy road to love. Still, I'd always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed